you see me in the shadows?
In God's Shadow by William E. Mellick, Jr. My story of being healed from cancer and pain. Narrated by Brad Crooker. Part 3. The Sneeze. October 6th through the 15th. Dr. Yu discharged me from the hospital on October 5th, just 3 days after my surgery. October 6th and 7th were very quiet days, and I spent my time recovering at home. I was excited about the visit by Pastor John for the God Had a Son Before Mary Did reading that was going to take place at Brother Paul Kurtzinger's house on Thursday evening, the 8th. On the morning of the 8th, I went for a follow-up visit to Dr. Yu, and everything was healing perfectly. Recovery was progressing faster than expected. Judy took me home, where I spent the rest of the day resting and waiting with excitement and expectation for Pastor John's visit. It was an honor to see God's people. The feelings were overwhelming, seeing everyone with my own eyes. It was wonderful being able to physically embrace each and every one with the love of God. Tears were filling my eyes as I spoke with everyone. An old man said one time, "If your head leaks, it won't swell." I've never forgotten those words. Pastor John read excerpts from his new book, and he asked me to tell how I got here. I started out by spelling in a weak voice, J-E-S-U-S. Then I filled in the blanks. As I sat down, I noticed my shirt was wet at the incision. I went to the restroom and asked Aunt Betty Pittman to look and see if everything was all right. Aunt Betty is a nurse, and she is one of my closest mothers in the Lord. Aunt Betty told Judy to take me home and get some rest, but everything was all right. The wetness came from the drainage tube incision. Judy and Brother Wendell Satterwhite escorted me to our car, holding me close on each side. As we got to the car, Brother Wendell embraced me with the best hug I ever had. It was very soft and sweet. We did not say a word to one another, but our spirits were having a conversation that was felt deep in our hearts. As Brother Wendell helped Judy put me in the car, our eyes met. I can't tell you what color his eyes were. He was dark. But I can tell what Jesus' eyes looked like. They looked like Brother Wendell's. Those eyes were full of love and compassion. As Brother Wendell walked back to the Kurtzingers' house, that scene was etched in my heart. I felt I had a conversation of love with Brother Wendell, though we never said one syllable to each other. Things were quiet at the home front. From Friday, October 9th, to Tuesday, October 13th, I spent my time resting and recovering. Sister Melissa and her mother, Sister Gail, came over and brought me dinner all the way from Indiana. It was very nice to see God's people in my home. Their smiles really help heal the body. Brother Stuart Heiser drove all the way from Tennessee, a 3-hour drive after work, just to give me a new song that Brother Gary Savelli had written, "God Put Me Here." Stuart sat at my kitchen table with me while I ate dinner. Stuart only stayed about an hour, and then drove the 3 hours back home. This was on a weekday. He had to go to work the next morning. Stuart always brings joy and peace with him, and you can feel that when he is near. On another day, Sister Jamie Kurtzinger packed up her 3 small boys, Jacob, Noah, and Luke, and took them out into the cold just to bring a dinner she had prepared for Judy and me. After she left, I cried. With tears, I said, "God, you're so good to me." Monday, October 12th, Sister Doris White and Sister Sheila Durham brought dinner to Judy and me. We sat down and talked about my surgery and the things that I have learned from this experience in the Lord thus far. It was a joy and an honor to be in their presence. sometime after they left, and without any warning whatsoever, I sneezed. I didn't have the time to hold my side and brace myself to help protect the incision. When I sneezed, I felt a tear inside my body under the incision. There was a burning sensation in my right side. I heard and felt a ripping sensation. I looked down at my side to see if I had torn loose the staples Dr. Yu had used to close my side, but everything looked good. After the pain subsided, I went back to my recliner and took a nap. But things were not good. On Wednesday, October 14th, Judy asked me if I would be all right by myself. She needed to run some errands. She fixed me some lunch, and I was watching TV when I started feeling the same kind of pain I had in the beginning when the original kidney stone moved. The doctor said I had 5 other smaller stones, and I thought that one of these was causing this pain. The pain grew and was more intense. No one was there but me, I thought. I managed to get out of the chair and walk to the back bedroom, where I collapsed on my bed. The pain had doubled me into a little ball where my head had touched my knees. Then I remembered that I did not take a phone with me, and I could not move to go get one. Lying there in complete helplessness, I started praying to Jesus. Quietly at first, then more audible as the pain was becoming more unbearable. I started screaming, "Help! I need help, Jesus! Help! Help!" This went on for 15 minutes or so, until I heard the back door open. It was Josh, my son. "Where are you, Dad? I hear you." I replied, "In the bedroom. I need help." Joshua came into the bedroom, called an ambulance, and called his mother. Josh was in the Army as an infantry soldier. He spent a tour overseas in Afghanistan and another in Baghdad, Iraq. Joshua knew how to behave under fire. He was God's perfect choice to be there at this time. Josh got things rolling. He told me he was on his way home from work, but something on the inside told him to come over here to see if everything was okay. I am very thankful I was not alone, that Jesus heard my prayers, and that Josh was listening to that something on the inside. He said, "You're lucky I showed up." I smiled and said, "You should be glad you listened to your heart." After I thanked my master, Jesus, for sending Josh, everything started moving very fast. The first one on the scene was the fire marshal. He was to evaluate the situation and oversee the transportation of me to the hospital. Following him were 2 young girls in the EMT unit and another crew of firemen. By now, Judy was back at home. It looked very unorganized, but I was feeling the complete peace of the Spirit, even though I was in very intense and severe pain, and I still could not walk. I was in the back bedroom where the EMT crew could not make the turns throughout the house to bring in the stretcher, so they wheeled in a human dolly. I was supposed to stand on this, and they were to roll me out of the house like a washing machine or something and put me in the ambulance. The more I waited for them to figure it out, the more pain I was in. I had had enough with their cartoonish behavior and asked God for strength to get up off the bed. I walked into the living room and put myself on the stretcher. The men from the fire department would not help the little young girls with the stretcher out of the house and onto the ambulance. I didn't understand. Here I was in pain and could hardly move, and these girls were struggling with their entire might to move me out of the house while the firemen just watched. I was freezing inside the house. My temperature was spiking well past 101 degrees, and it was very cold outside. The young girls did not even cover me up with any blankets. Judy had draped my thick bathrobe over me to keep me warm going from the house to the warm ambulance. I was so thankful for the heat blowing from the vents inside the ambulance. I finally was warm. One of the young girls was prepping me for an IV, and I felt every bump and crack in the road on my right side as they drove me to the hospital. Inside the ambulance, I was speaking softly in tongues and thanking God for hearing my prayer for help. While the young girl was working on me, I kept saying over and over again, "Jesus, you are my hero. You are my God. You are my Lord. Thank you for looking out for me." The young girl looked at me and said, "That's right, Mr. Mellick." The hospital was so crowded that the nurse put me in the hallway that had another 5 people on stretchers there. We looked like human cattle waiting for the slaughter. The ER was overflowing, and they had no rooms left at the inn. When the nurse came and took my temperature and saw it was close to 102 degrees by now, I was moved immediately to the front of the herd. When they saw on my chart I had part of my kidney removed, I was moved into one of the emergency rooms where I was instantly cared for by the ER doctor on staff. While I was lying there in the room, Judy walked in. She was wearing her concerns and worry all over her face. I still felt this tremendous peace, though the pain was greater than it had ever been. God had told me Sister Donna Crum was going to be there when I arrived at the hospital. I felt that deep in my soul. When I asked Judy who was in the waiting room, she told me Donna was there. I asked Judy to go get her. Donna has something from the Lord for me. When Donna came in, I saw the same Jesus in her eyes as I did with Brother Wendell. I smiled, for I knew who had shown up for me. Donna has a gift of love and compassion, and when you get to know her, you can feel it all over her. I felt pain go away from my body the closer she came to me. As we embraced each other, Sister Donna started praying for me softly in tongues, like I did in the ambulance, and like Pastor John did in the beginning when the kidney stone moved. The crippling pain in my right side left. It had to submit to the higher power. The nurse did drug me up, but that only relaxed me enough to put me to sleep. The ER doctor called my surgeon, Dr. Yu, and Dr. Yu ordered another CT scan to find out what had happened. The scan confirmed what I had done when I sneezed. I had pulled loose the stitches holding a blood vessel to my kidney, and it was bleeding. I was very fortunate that my body clots blood very fast. In fact, when the nurses were not fast enough with putting in an IV, fast-clotting blood cells actually caused the fluid in the IV to crystallize, and they had to flush it out. This clotting was my blessing this night, but it would be a curse not many days hence. I was admitted to a room that night, and everything was calming down. I was kept there for observation to see if Dr. Yu would have to reopen me and correct the problem with the sneeze, but on the next day, Thursday the 15th, I was discharged with orders to drink plenty of fluids and get plenty of rest at home. Where was I going? I was so weak by this time from the surgery and this bleeding of my kidney that all I could do was sit and sleep in my recliner. Moving and shaking. October 15th. Everything seemed back to normal, and I was finally discharged from the hospital and sent on my way back home. I felt really good in my body, but I was very tired from the ordeal with my kidney bleeding. After Judy drove us back home, she helped me back into my recliner. I believe I ate something, and then I pushed the recliner back to get some much-needed rest. I was so exhausted that I went right to sleep. I don't know how long I slept, but I was awakened by my body shaking violently. I thought my body was in shock from the trauma it had suffered the day before. I was shaking so hard that it was bouncing the recliner on the floor. It is a wonder that I didn't wake Judy up from her nap in the next room. I couldn't yell out. It was as though my mouth could not work. Still being bounced around in the recliner, I sat there, contemplating what was going on. All of a sudden, it stopped as soon as it started. I heard a voice, as strong as I ever heard a voice, saying, "I am a mover and a shaker." I was numb in my body with the fear of God. I sat there in silence, in the same place, for over 3 hours. I was amazed about what had just happened. This is just the start of the rest of my story about God. Here's a song that Stuart Heiser brought from Tennessee for me to listen to, by Gary Savelli. God Put Me Here.
When I look around this room and I see what Jesus has done, when I feel this unity, it's just like the Father and Son. I have to fall down on my knees and praise Him for these things I feel. Of all the places I could be, God put me here, and God put you here. When I feel the love in this room, it feels like heaven to me. When we have a need and we pray, and in His name we agree, I can feel His healing flow. Burdens lift and sickness goes. I thank God He loves me so. God put me here, and God put you here. And when we dwell in unity, the fragrance of it is so sweet, like the anointing oil that ran down Aaron's beard. God put us here, God put us here. When I look around this room and I feel His presence so strong, I just raise my hands and praise Jesus in every song. My heart is filled with gratitude for every life He's joined me to. I marvel that it's really true. God put me here, and God put you here. And when we dwell in unity, the fragrance of it is so sweet, like the anointing oil that ran down Aaron's beard. God put us here, God put us here. Here we are, serving Jesus together. Here we are, in one accord, accord. Here we are in the Spirit forever. Here we are in one accord. Here we are. Here we are. When I look around this room and I see what Jesus has done, when I feel this unity, it's just like the Father and Son. I have to fall down on my knees and praise Him for these things I feel. Of all the places I could be, God put me here, and God put you here. God put me here, and God put you here.
The Front Lines, October 16th through the 18th. After I was discharged from the hospital on October 15th, and after God had moved and shaken me in my recliner at home, Friday the 16th started off as a very normal and typical day. The sun was out, the skies were blue with white puffy clouds, and I was very thankful the pain in my side was gone. I was exhausted again. I was still in contact with Dr. Yu, and Judy was still taking very good care of me. I thought my body now would behave itself and let me recover in peace, but our bodies always submit to the higher power that created us mortals when called upon. There were many lessons to be learned in the coming days, and many skirmishes with my body would be fought. Sometime during Friday the 16th, I went to the restroom and urinated dark red blood and some solid clots. It was very shocking, but fascinating because my body had never done anything like this in the past. As I looked down, more clots were passing. They were semi-solid at first, but more solid as time went. Judy called Dr. Yu, and he gave me orders to drink plenty of fluids to help pass the clots and to keep him informed on my situation. Blood in the bladder is never a good thing. Blood forming into clots in the bladder is a worse thing. By the end of Friday, the semi-solid clots were now hard and much more difficult to pass. It now seemed that the blessing of my body being able to clot blood quickly, as it did that Wednesday when my kidney bled, was now becoming my curse. I spent Friday evening and well into the early a.m. hours of Saturday morning walking the bathroom floor and hallway of our house to help relieve the pressure of my bladder backing up. It would take 15 or 20 minutes to pass 100 cc's of thick bloody fluid and clots. A nurse told me a normal person would pass between 400 and 1,000 cc's per hour, depending on that person's metabolism. I was straining to pass 25 cc's per hour at times. Through the early a.m. hours of Saturday to well into late Saturday morning, it was a never-ending effort to get relief any way I could. I would hold a urinal and walk the bathroom floor while I was massaging my abdomen to try to break up the clots that were causing the pain. I found talking to Jesus was my best relief. I had spent a lot of time talking to him lately. I was in complete peace, though my body was in agony. After several phone conferences with my doctor, Judy and I decided I was going back to the hospital to see if there was anything they could do to help me get relief. We spent all day at the hospital ER in observation. The ER doctor ran an ultrasound on my bladder and told me that my bladder had the proper amount of fluid in it. We kept telling him that the fluid left in my bladder was solid and not liquid, and that this was the whole problem. I asked him to do another CT scan with a dye enhancement to determine what in the world was going on, while all along the pain to relieve myself was not going away. The CT scan was never ordered, and the only help given to me was pain medication and a nice hotel room in the ER while I was still under all of this observation. Judy and I were there all day, and the final diagnosis of the ER doctor was that this episode was the result of my kidney bleeding from the previous Wednesday afternoon, and that the clots and blood were old stuff that had to be softened and passed by drinking a lot of fluid. I spent the rest of Saturday afternoon and all Saturday night doing the same thing I did before I went to the hospital, walking the floor, massaging my abdomen, and especially thanking Jesus for every drop of relief that passed, while in the meantime continually praying and drinking the fluids. The doctor stated that there are enzymes in the bladder that will help dissolve any solid material that flows from the kidney, but in my case, I wasn't producing the enzymes fast enough before the urge came to use the restroom again. I spent a sleepless Saturday night and Sunday morning in the same routine. My body was spent and exhausted again. Judy had not slept either and was feeling overwhelmed. Judy called Pastor John for prayer for me about 7:30 a.m. She was at her wit's end in body and spirit for strength to continue the fight. But the battle was just starting. Many more days of walking the halls, going to hospitals, and sleepless nights would continue to be a plague for my precious wife and me. 2 more messengers. October 18th through the 21st. To me, the definition of a messenger is one who has been sent with a message. Those of us who know Pastor John as our pastor know he has been sent from God to help us, and we know that when God sends someone, he anoints them with the ability for the job. After Judy had called Pastor John to ask God's people for prayer, we received a phone call from one of those messengers. As I've said before, Sister Betty Pittman is one of my closest mothers in the Lord, and her husband, Brother Earl Pittman, is closer to me than any biological family member I have. I have watched these 2 saints of God since I was a young boy, and my deepest prayer still is to be like them as I grow in grace from the Lord. There has not been a soul who has known them that has not felt their example of love and unselfishness. God could not have chosen 2 better messengers to help Judy and me. Right after Judy hung up the phone with Pastor John that Sunday morning, Sister Betty, Aunt Betty, called me. My voice was so weak that I could not talk much more than a loud whisper. Aunt Betty told me that God had put it on their hearts for Uncle Earl and her to come to Louisville from North Carolina, a 9-hour trip, to assist Judy with anything needed, doing laundry, cleaning, cooking, etc. I could feel the compassion and love of God in her voice. I have said this: God, if you ever have to take one of my ribs out, and if you make another woman with it like you did in the Garden of Eden with Adam's rib when you made Eve, I hope you make a woman out of it like Sister Betty. I felt God was sending her here for more than to be a maid. They have faith in God, and it rubs off on you. Plans were set, and Uncle Earl and Aunt Betty were on their way. I spent all day Sunday and into the morning hours of Monday going through the same routine that I had been going through since the bleeding began on Friday, praying to Jesus, walking the bathroom floor, massaging my lower body with a urinal in my hand, and leaning on Judy for everything. I really don't know who was more exhausted, Judy or me. Judy not only took care of me, but was taking care of her elderly mother and father at their house also. Brother Earl and Aunt Betty arrived that Monday afternoon. My face glowed as soon as I saw them pull up in the driveway. As soon as they walked in, my strength got better, and Judy was relieved that she now was going to get help as long as we needed it. I never once heard Judy complain of the difficulty she had to face with taking care of two households, her dad's and ours. I was still very much clotted, but getting enough relief to take the pressure off my bladder. Still, it was very painful and exhausting, to say the least. This went on the rest of Monday and into the a.m. hours of Tuesday. I watched as Uncle Earl and Aunt Betty took over the chores that Judy did, the cooking, cleaning, and taking care of Sarge, our 2-year-old boxer dog. You are either a dog lover or not, so it was a little humorous watching Aunt Betty with Sarge. Brother Earl would catch Sarge, like Judy does, after he drinks water and wipe his saggy boxer lips so he wouldn't drip water on the floor. By the end of Tuesday, Aunt Betty was giving Sarge orders, and he was obeying them. She did hurt his feelings one day by calling him a dog, but to his credit, he did share his toys with them. Sarge always thinks people come to see just him. Tuesday was no different. We were in close contact with Dr. Yu, and we were debating again to go to the hospital. I did not want to go there just for them to do nothing again but medicate me and put me to sleep while Judy, Aunt Betty, and Uncle Earl sat for endless hours in a waiting room getting no rest for themselves, only for me to be sent home again with the same clotting issues. We all agreed to wait. Dr. Yu had set up an outpatient procedure to remove the clots in my bladder for the next day, and if I could hold off from going to the ER again, it would be better for everyone. I continued walking the bathroom floor again, with the same vigor as before, but the clotting was getting worse as time passed. I was desperate for help. I was hating even the smell of the bathroom, not because it stank, but because I knew the pain I had to go through when I was in there. But the peace of God was always working in my heart. That peace from God kept me from going insane with pain. I was walking the bathroom floor again Tuesday afternoon when, all of a sudden, I was not so much as getting a drop of fluid to pass. I had become completely blocked. I did everything I could to pass the fluid, but nothing worked. I sat down on the toilet, and in a very humbled and quiet voice, I asked Jesus to help me. As I was praying, I felt relief and looked down to see a steady stream of fluid flowing. I said in my heart, Jesus, you were listening. You heard my prayer. My head started leaking again around my eyes, and tears flowed down my face onto my lap. I was so humbled by this experience, and my love and faith soared in God. A king came to my rescue. I came out of the restroom and told Uncle Earl, Aunt Betty, and Judy what had just happened. The love of God and the Spirit of God filled the room. We embraced each other in a group hug while the Spirit was flowing through each one of us. I was sobbing like a baby. The procedure was scheduled for the next day, Wednesday, and my bladder soon started to back up again, but not totally. I remember saying one time while I was walking the floor, "We can do this, Jesus. Get through the night for the procedure. You and me." During the evening hours of Tuesday, every time I came out of the restroom, I had a cheerleading section, Aunt Betty and Judy. One of them would ask, "How much this time?" I would say, 25 cc's or 50 or maybe 100. They would clap their hands and say, "Yay!" So the more I passed fluid, the more exuberant the cheers became. Just a few more hours and I would get total relief. Aunt Betty gave me my strongest pain medication, and Judy tucked me into bed. Every time I tossed and turned or got up to use the restroom, Judy would come over to my bed, tuck me in, and gently kiss me on my cheek and say, "Pappy, Grammy is right here. I hear you. Call out for anything you need." Judy did this every time I moved. I would turn over against the wall, cry, and thank God for Judy. There was a love and compassion for me from her. It went deeper than a wife's responsibility to take care of her husband. We were one. What I felt, she was feeling. We did it! Jesus and I got through the night without going to the hospital. Howbeit, I had a lot of help from Judy and my 2 messengers. We were on our way to get the procedure done that was scheduled. Sister Donna Crum was there at the hospital, and after they prepped me for surgery, I asked to see her. I hope everyone can feel what I had felt from Donna during these trying times. Pastor John once said, "She is going to make you a good sister." She has. That love of God from her has not left, because it is a gift from God. It is within her. Uncle Earl, Aunt Betty, Sister Donna, and Judy were all huddled around my bed. They all prayed for me, hugged and kissed me. Then everyone had to leave. There is a loneliness you feel in your heart when love walks away, when you are the only one in a room. But there is a friend, Jesus, that sticks closer than a brother when there is not a soul around. I said in my heart again, "Jesus, we can do this." I saw everyone again after the surgery. Love walked back in the room in the form of God's precious people. I was discharged and sent back home to recover. As you can expect, I was very exhausted, but very thankful. Judy tucked me in bed as she always had done, and Uncle Earl resumed his duties of wiping Sarge's lips as Aunt Betty hunkered down for the night. Life was good. On Thursday morning, seeing I was in good shape and in good hands, my 2 messengers said their goodbyes. We hugged and cried. I don't know what we would have done without them. They were God's perfect choice during this time. I watched them pull out of the driveway the same as I did when they arrived. My head started leaking again. I love them very much.
And when we dwell in unity, the fragrance of it is so sweet, like the anointing